I don't know if anyone else is feeling this way, but I feel like my sense of time this year is just completely off. Like, I keep turning around and suddenly it's the end of a month and I realize that I had no idea that time was passing. I literally looked at my calendar and was like, oh my god, it's almost June. So anyway, I'm putting together my June TBR today, and this is going to be, I think, interesting because I really don't have a sense of what specifically I want to read next month. May ended up not being the greatest reading month for me. It was good in terms of quality, but I've been really struggling with a reading slump all month, and I think that maybe taking on 3 readathons right after graduating was maybe not my greatest idea. It was a little bit overambitious, and I have ended up not reading anywhere near as much as I had anticipated. Again, I have liked the things I've read, but it's just not been as successful as I wanted. So for June, I was wanting to do something different and kind of scale back my TBR a little bit, but I was just looking at everything I have to read and just don't know what I'm in the mood for. I have a lot of things that I'm really excited to read and things that I'm interested in reading soon, but I just couldn't decide on anything specific, so I thought maybe I would leave it up to chance this month, and it was giving me a good opportunity to use the new graduation gift my best friend gave me, which is that she bought me some dice. We play some tabletop role-playing games together. She's the GM for my friend group, and so she gifted me this really pretty dice set that I think look like forbidden snacks. They're very like pink and blue. And then she also gave me this like giant D20. It's metal and it is vaguely reminiscent of my character that I just played in a Baldur's Gate 3. We did a co-op playthrough for my first playthrough. It was her third playthrough, my first. And I played a blue dragonborn named Vivian. So she gave me this beautiful like blue dragon scale looking D20, which it does not want to focus on. There we go. So it's very like shiny. I really like it, and we have not managed to schedule time lately to play anything. We're in the midst of trying to schedule a new game of 13th Age we're going to try next. So we're like trying to do that. Haven't got a chance to use the dice yet, and I thought maybe it would be fun to use the dice to kind of randomly select my TBR for June. So what I've done is I've made a full list of 20 items that I'm interested in reading. 20 books that I'm interested in reading. And they're like all for different kind of purposes. Some of them are things that I've started previously and just want to finish, but have been having some trouble prioritizing them. Some are arcs that I've had for a while that I need to get to. Some are just like new books that I've gotten recently that I'm excited about. Some are things that have been sitting on my shelves for a while, but I keep kind of wanting to go back to them. So there's just kind of a blend of things on the list, and my plan is I'm going to roll a d6 to figure out how many I actually need to try and read, and then after that we'll roll the d20. We'll see if this doesn't cause too much chaos. If it does, I'll just use the d20 from the set, but we'll roll the d20 and figure out what I'm going to be reading. So that is the plan. I think this is similar to something I've done previously, like way back when I first just started my channel. I think I was using dice to select my books, but you know, circling back around to that again, and hopefully this will help me break through my indecision and give me a nice little like small select set of things to read from for June. So let's go ahead and take a look at the list and then we'll start rolling. Okay, so taking a quick look at the list, here it is. We have Critical Hits, which is a essay collection, A Restless Truth by Freya Marsk, Foul Days by Genevieve Dimova, The Red Palace by June Herr, The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz, A Shadow All of Light by Fred Chappell, Indian Burial Ground by Nick Medina, The Death I Gave Him by M.X. Liu, Living Dead in Dallas by Charlaine Harris, Before They Are Hanged by Joe Abercrombie, The Trap by Catherine Ryan Howard, Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse, A Strange and Stubborn Endurance by Foz Meadows, Dreadful Company by Vivian Shaw, A Fatal Thing Happened on the Way to the Forums by Emma Southern, The Mystery at Dunvegan Castle by T.L. Huchu, Written in Bone by Sue Black, Scorched Grace by Margot, I don't remember her last name, so there is that. All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby, and Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone by Benjamin Stevenson. And now we get to find out how many of those I actually need to read. 3. That is not bad at all. I'm happy with 3. Hopefully this metal dice won't be too loud, but what's going to be our first read? Number 14. So that is going to be Dreadful Company. Next up, that a little more in frame. Next up is going to be number 19, All the Sinners Bleed. And finally, number 4. That is The Red Palace. If it will focus. There we go. I will be right back with those books. Okay, I'm back with those books, and I have to say I think this went really well for me. I'm really excited about all 3 of these, and the stack definitely leans a little more to the dark side, but yeah, this really worked out. This is some stuff that I'm really excited to read. So first up, we got number 14, and this one is, before I drop it, Dreadful Company by Vivian Shaw. This is the second book in the Dr. Greta Helsing series, which is a kind of horror urban fantasy series following Greta, who is a doctor for monsters and the undead. And in this one, she is going to Paris for a medical conference, only to find that there is a coven of vampires infesting Paris, and I guess they're after her for some reason. It's kind of unclear based on the back why the vampires are a problem, but she ends up having to navigate the catacombs of Paris to survive, and that just sounds super interesting. I loved the first book in this series. The characters have this like wonderful little found family, and they all really rely on each other to supplement their own weaknesses. They each have like very individual strengths, and I just love the way this is written. I love the humor and horror blend that Vivian Shaw uses in the first book, so I'm very intrigued by this one. I'm really hoping it's going to have more of that kind of blend of humor and horror, and I cannot wait to dive into this because I've been meaning to continue this series for a very long time now. Then number 19 was All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby, which I've heard is a fairly gritty mystery following this guy named Titus, who is the first black sheriff in a small town, and a year after he's elected, a student kills a former teacher, and then that student is killed by the police. And so he's having to deal with that situation, which leads him to discover an apparent serial killer in their midst. So he's trying to investigate that, and at the same time, there's a far-right group that is trying to hold a parade in the town. So he's also needing to deal with that situation. It sounds super interesting, and I've heard great things about S.A. Cosby's writing, so I'm really excited to give his writing a try. And I think of the books he's released so far, this is the one I'm most interested in, but I definitely would want to go back and read some of his others if I end up enjoying this. And then lastly, we have The Red Palace by June TBR. This was number 4, and this one is a historical mystery set in Korea in the mid-18th century, following a palace nurse and an investigator who end up working together to solve a series of either missing or killed women who were all women that worked in the palace. And they discover that this line of murders goes all the way back to the Crown Prince, and they have to figure out how to deal with that situation. So it sounds like it's going to be very political, very dark. I'm very excited for this because I've loved June TBR's first 2 books. They both made me cry, and they're just really interesting and atmospheric historical mysteries. So I'm really looking forward to this one. And I also just got her 4th book, so I want to be able to get to this one so that I can read that one as well. So really glad that this one came up. I was actually really hoping when I wrote this down that this one would get chosen, and it did, so I'm excited. So these are all the books I have to read in June. I do have some other things that I am hoping to read, some other things I am planning to read. I do have one video I'd like to do, but I don't want to commit myself to anything right now just because I've been so slumpy lately, and I don't want to, as I often do, promise more than I end up actually being able to accomplish. So I'm pleased with this and how this went. I feel like 3 was a really nice little number of books to get. I think that the dice were actually very nice to me this month. I think it helps that I put a lot of stuff on there that I was excited for, and not much there that was like, oh, I feel like I need to get to this, so that probably helps. But I think that's just kind of what I need right now. So yeah, I'm really happy with how this went. Let me know down in the comments below if you enjoyed this, if you liked this way of picking books. I just like to have some way to kind of battle my own indecision, and I feel like something like this kind of helps. So yeah, definitely let me know down in the comments if you enjoyed this and if you would like to see this in future months. I think this is something that I could start doing regularly if people like watching it. But yeah, very excited for this stack in June, and I think that's pretty much all I have for you today. I really hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, I hope you'll consider giving it a like, maybe even subscribing to see what comes next. I'm currently posting on Tuesdays and Saturdays, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.